What is up, everybody? Joe from the 40 Rider here. Today I'm going to do a quick little video on what I do personally for trail prep, like maintenance on the bike, this, that, and the other, just to make sure it's ready to hit the trails. Also, I would like to talk about what I carry with me when I go on rides, just in case something happens. Like yesterday, I don't know if you've ever heard of a TPU tube, but it's a really super lightweight thermoplastic tube, super ultra light. But yesterday I was out riding and there's 1, 2, 3, 4 patches on this one tube because I was cruising along, luckily only a couple miles from the trailhead, and my rear tire went flat. Now I ride a hardtail, so I should have known better to run something this light with zero protection in the rear, especially as hard as I've cased some things. I'm surprised it lasted as long as it did. Long story short, I had stuff with me, like a tire pump, the little patches, tire levers, that kind of thing. But one, I found out that the pump that I have is horrible. Two, I found out that after putting 4 little patches on this tube, it still would not hold air. So that means there was more spots, but I digress. So basically just want to go over what I bring with me just in case something like that happens. You can be prepared for it, because it's no fun pushing your bike back to the trailhead, but it's also no fun trying to change a tire on the side of a trail, getting eaten alive by mosquitoes and trying to get it done. So let's go over some pre-trip things real quick and we'll go from there. So first thing that I want to go over with you real quick is tire pressure, and then like shock pressure. Just as a out the gate, I didn't realize that tire pressure made such a big difference, but it really does, because I was doing a lot of fast, jumpy stuff. So I was like, oh, I'm gonna run these things at max to where they're hard as a rock. Turns out that if you're running the correct tire pressure, it's actually faster. So website that I use is called Wolf Tooth Components, and on there they have a tire pressure calculator to where you enter the weight, bike plus rider plus gear, so fully kitted out, stand on a scale, then weigh your bike, so you know, okay, this is how much all this stuff weighs. Then your it asks tire setup, which is tubed or tubeless, your casing type. Then it asks what trail conditions. Like most trails where I personally ride, I consider medium trail, because they're not soft but they're not hard. But you have hard, soft, medium, and then pavement / jumping, inflation temperature, riding temperature, then of course your tire size, and then your tire width. You put in all that information, and it's telling me right now for my bike, my setup, my weight, 20.8 in the rear and 18.8 in the front. So just to off the shelf pressure gauge real quick. Which I'm running about 19, so that's close enough to the 18.8. Again, this is with the tire pressure calculator is a good base. It's a good way to start off, because maybe you like a softer tire that bites a little more in corners, or maybe you like something a little harder that does less give. And the rear is at 24. Now that I have rubber tubes in there after yesterday's incident, unfortunately I added some weight, but it's worth the sacrifice to me. As far as shock goes, I have a rock shock, air shock on the front, and they actually have an app in the app store, Android or iOS, that's called Trailhead. So obviously, like, you open the app, you put in your weight, what fork you have, the model, all that stuff. Or there, sometimes if your shock's new enough, it has a little barcode on there, or it has a little sticker, like right here or somewhere on there, that tells you, like me, at my weight, I should be running 85 to 90 psi. So then you take your fancy little pump here, pop this wonderful little cap off, make sure it's clean, make sure your pressure gauge is clean, because you don't want to make it all dirty and nasty in here, cause leaks, and you know. So right now I am at 90, so I'm gonna add a couple of little poofs, because I plan on going somewhere where there's some like kind of jumps and drops. So that should be good. And that's pretty well, like, the first two things that I do is check tire pressures, and then I check my shock pressures, make sure, like, take it off the stand, cycle it a few times, and then recheck it just to make sure. But 9 times out of 10, unless you have like a leaky seal or something, it's gonna pretty well stay the same. So then after your air pressures and your suspension is kind of set, not everybody has these little devices, but in case you don't know what this is, it's a chain checker, and you put it on your, you know, like my chain is, it's a little stretch, so I'm not too far off from having to replace it. It's a good little thing to have. You can buy like a pretty cheap toolkit off of Amazon that has like your chain checker, your chain tool, your chain breaker, just, you know, a few helpful specialty bike tools that you could use that won't break the bank. They're not the best quality, but for somebody like me who's just getting into this, I'd say they're pretty decent. They get the job done. Usually I'll take a glove and at least one hand. I use this DuPont Chain Saver. It's a wax-based lubricant. Oil-free wax film, reduces chain wear, self-cleaning technology, blah, blah, blah. It's pretty decent stuff. And then I have down on the bottom of the shelf what I call my chain rag. What I like to do is cup it and then give it a nice little squirt. Make sure you get all the links nice and lubed. Now some people will tell you, you know, oh, you're only supposed to do it every other one. I personally know there are better products out there than something I got off the shelf at hardware store, but like for me it works. If you know something better, comment below. Let me know what you personally use for like dry or wet conditions, and what works best for keeping your chain clean, because I'm curious. I'm just using what I got. Then I'll run it around a couple of times to make sure the excess is off and it's nice and sparkly clean. Guess I didn't really need a glove, but not everybody likes, you know, doing that. So after I make sure the chain is good, then obviously a big thing to check is gears. Make sure everything is shifting properly. Which seems to be shifting through all the gears nice and good. I don't hear any brake rub, so that's good. So shifting through all the gears, chain's lubed. Again, this is just stuff that I personally do, because like the worst thing would be is to loading up going all the way to a trail system somewhere to ride just to find out that like something's not right or it's not shifting right, and then you're stuck on the side of the trailhead trying to figure out what's wrong with your bike, and it takes away from the fun aspect. But yeah, make sure all the every gear shifts good, change lubed, dropper post works, and of course, you know, make sure everything's pretty good to go. I personally like to kind of go over every moving part. You know, make sure that, like, I'll take some of this Tri-Flow and kind of lube up the derailleur a little bit. If you haven't in a while, lube up your cables, like squirt a little lube into your brake levers, make sure everything is functioning properly, make sure your brakes are functioning properly. When you grab a brake, that it works and it's not rubbing, because that's something I've had happen recently where I went out on the trailhead, and to transport my bike I have to take the front tire off, and it felt like every time I put the front tire back on after having it off, my brake was rubbing and I was having to stop on the trailhead, try to figure it out, and then I learned how to do it the right way. So I'm going to get into that here next. So here's another fun little thing that I learned recently by watching some wonderful YouTube videos that I was doing was completely wrong. One, I had the lever on the wrong side, which is supposed to, I guess, be on the non-drive side. Then you're supposed to make sure that it's tucked up and like that. I didn't know any better. I didn't think it mattered. But making sure it's a lot easier if the bike's on the ground, but so you got to make sure that, like, you got little cone springs in there. Make sure those are going the right way, because those keep that nice and true, nice and centered. Make sure the cones are the right way, which, you know, the small side goes in, the bigger side goes to the outside. I found out that put it in here nice and easy. Like, I personally grab a hold of the top of the fork brace with like one hand, and then I'll kind of tighten it up a little bit. That's why it's a lot easier if it's on the ground, because you can use the weight of the bike to keep it in position. I just grab a hold of it like this once I get it pretty tight. Oh, see, that's a little loose. I'll tighten it up just a smidgen, because you want it to be pretty tight. You don't want your wheel to fall off. And boom, front wheel's on. No brake rub. Oh, as soon as I say it, it starts rubbing. Which brings me to the next thing. Is I was trying to line up my front brake because it was always rubbing. I even made like little shims to like slide in there to try to space it out evenly, and going through all this crap. So then I gave up and I got it online, and Park Tool on their website has a video from like 8 years ago of how to line up hydraulic disc brakes properly. And I'm like, okay, well, maybe I'm doing something wrong. Let me check this out. So I get on there and I look, and he's like, loosen the bolts. And I'm like, okay. Apply the brake. And then tighten bolts. And I'm like, no. Yes, it's that easy. I didn't know that. I feel like a dumbass. But also, you could have like a bent or warped rotor from taking it on and off. It falls, it bumps something. Park Tool sells one. I'm sure you can buy one somewhere else. You can even use a big crescent wrench. I made one, and this is for, you know, putting on the rotor and, you know, having to tweak it left or right, or if there's a little wobble, give it a tweak. But that's personally up to you if you want to do that. If not, hey, that's fine. So once I make sure I'm definitely take it off of the stand, put it on the ground, up my front brake and just kind of move it back and forth a little bit to make sure that my neck bearings aren't loose, because that's something that happens often. And most people don't realize it, and most people don't know how to tighten them. But I make sure the bearings are tight, make sure all my levers are good, make sure my brakes are good, shifters, everything is set where it needs to be and ready to go ride. That's typically what I do. Real quick, this is usually, we'll go over what I carry with me. Now, it really depends on your bike. Like me, I've worked on this bike, I've had it apart enough to where I know exactly what I need to fix it. And if I need something more than this, I'm not riding it out of there anyways. Obviously, just a cheapo, there's some nice ones out there. I have a nice set of tire levers. I think the muck off ones, like I said, they're great. But you know, these ones are small, lightweight, they fit in a little pouch. Allen wrench pack, which is 1.5 through 6, which is everything that I would need, because this bike does not have any screws. Like, there's no Phillips screws, there's no bolt heads. Like, pretty much everything on this bike is Allen wrench, except for like the quick release clamps. So that's why I carry just like a standard Allen pack, because I don't really need anything else. And then in my little case here, I have some alcohol like prep pads to clean the surface of the tube a little bit if I get a flat. And then I have some patches in here for the tube. I have a spare master link, and well, I don't really need this anymore because I changed tires, so I have Schrader valves on here. Before I had the Presta valve, so I had to have the little adapter, which, you know, if you don't have, you can't put air in your tire. And then of course, water bottle, gotta have water. And then on the side of the water cage here, I have my little pump, which, as I found out yesterday, it takes forever to air up a tire with this, but it will do the job. And just a side note, make sure you're careful on how you are airing up your tire on the trail side, because I was squatted down like next to my bike, trying to put air in here, and I was getting upset. So I was going quickly. As somebody was coming down the trail, I didn't see it. So this is what they see. I don't have to say it out loud what it looks like. You pretty much know what it looks like. But anyways, we're gonna go hit the trails, go for a ride, have some fun, and then when we get back, we'll go over what I do when I get home from a ride to kind of make sure things are cleaned up and put away properly, because the more preventative maintenance that you do, the less stuff you'll have to replace long term. And if you're like me, who's on a budget 90% of their life, you want to be careful on how much, you know, you have to replace. Like, this bike has been really good to me, but I've also taken really good care of it since the day that I bought it. So yeah, let's go hit the trails. What's up, everybody? We're out here today. I just got back from a decent trail ride. As you can see, she's a little dirty, she's a little muddy. I just kind of wanted to brush against the process that I take when I get back from a trail ride. Even if you're like dog ass tired or just want to like shower and pass the fuck out, like, this is what I forced myself to do when I get back from a trail ride. Basically got some like dish soap mixed with water, a bucket with some scrub brushes, toilet brush, very good for cleaning, and a softer bristle brush, bucket of water for rinsing the brushes, garden hose, that kind of stuff. So I'm just going to take you through the process of what I do when I get back from a ride. I'm probably going to time lapse a lot of this just because I don't think you really want to sit here and watch me scrub a bike for 20 minutes. So we'll shorten things up a little bit. As you can see, it's cleaned off now. I use like a soft bristle brush for most of it, and then toilet brush works really good for cleaning chain, cogs, that stuff. I just use Dawn dish soap because it's not too like abrasive, like a heavy degreaser. Just make sure everything's kind of, the big stuff's knocked off. It's clean for the most part. I use a leaf blower. I've seen people use air hoses. Hell, you could even just bounce it on the ground a couple times to shake most of the water off, because that's all you're really trying to do is like shed the big stuff. Now you don't want to put it away like this. Let it dry for like, I'd say a half hour or so, to where everything's kind of like dried up for the most part. Then make sure you lube your chain, derailleur, check everything, make sure everything's good, there's nothing grinding, make sure your brakes aren't grinding before you put it away. So that way when you go to ride, you don't have to sit there and knock crusty dirt off, because leaving your bike dirty is like one of the worst things you can do, because that causes rust and it causes stuff to wear out a lot faster. It's unnecessary. Just take like 15-20 minutes when you get home to brush it off, like clean it all off, get it where it's at right now, then go change your clothes and relax a little bit, let it dry, and then come out here, shoot some lube on the old chain and make sure everything's pretty set up solid, and then you'll be ready for the next ride. If you made it this far, hope you enjoyed, hope this helped. Let me know what you like seeing, whether you like seeing the how-tos and the setups and pre-ride and post-ride, or just the ride in general. Look forward to hearing your input and feedback, and I'll see you in the next one.